is one of the 4 major ruinous powers. He is the oldest of the 4, most probably because he is the god of death and decay, and those 2 have been part of the galaxy since the beginning. Of the 4 gods of chaos, Nergal is said to be the most involved with the plight of mortals. Those afflicted by his contagions often turn to him in order to escape their suffering. The physical likeness of Nergal is described as gigantic and bloated with corruption, with foul-colored, leathery, and necrotic skin. Nergal can also be regarded as the Lord of all, because all things, no matter how solid and permanent they seem, are liable to physical corruption. All the Chaos Gods are embodiments of the hopes, fears, and other strong emotions and concepts generated by the mortal races. In Nergal's case, the source of power is the living's fear of inevitable death and disease, and their unconscious response to that fear, which is the power of life, the motivating power of mankind and other races. Nergal and his demons, in contrast to their putrid appearance, are jovial and friendly in demeanor. His demon servants and mortal followers usually demonstrate a disturbing joviality and joy at the pestilence that he inflicts, seeing the plagues as gifts and the cries of their victims as gratitude rather than agony. This is demonstrated on the demon world of Bubonicus, where an endless chain of crazed revelers circle the planet's equator in a never-ending dance. Nergal is often referred to as Grandfather Nergal, Father Nergal, or Papa Nergal by his followers because of his paternal nature. His main enemy is Tzeentch, the Lord of Change, because their power comes from opposing sources. Tzeentch is hope and ambition, while Nergal is defiance, born of despair and hopelessness. The demons of Nergal are putrid in appearance and sickening to look upon. Their skin is filled with the fever heat of corruption, their innards pushing through the lesions in their skin, and their bodies ooze with putrid slime. However, Nergal's demons are often cheerful, energetic beings to show a disturbingly friendly demeanor. They are jovial in their work and show great pride in their achievements. The Great Unclean Ones. The greater demons of Nergal, massive, bloated, disease carriers, often carrying a blade known as a plague sword into battle. These massive, rusted blades are said to be dipped in the foul pus and contagion at the base of Nergal's throne. Great Unclean Ones are unlike the great demons of other powers, in that where the latter are essentially just immensely powerful servants, the Great Unclean Ones are each facsimiles of Nergal himself, both physically and in terms of their personality. In other words, every Great Unclean One is also Nergal. Thus, these followers often refer to these demons as Papa Nergal or Father Nergal. Despite their completely bloated and putrid appearance, Great Unclean Ones are neither death-like or morbid in character. In fact, the opposite is true, and the demons are motivated by all the trivial human enthusiasms which drive the living. They are gregarious and even sentimental in nature, and hold their followers dear, even referring to them as their children, and taking an obvious pride in their appearance and endearing behavior. Plague Bearers, the common demons of Nergal, having a vaguely humanoid appearance with a single burning eye. They are often referred to as the Talisman of Nergal, for they constantly strive to number the poxes and represent the need of humanity to impose order on a chaotic and uncaring universe. A single scratch from their rusted swords is sufficient to bestow a plague that sends its host into Nergal's realm. They have special combat abilities, allowing them to hurt enemies no matter how tough they are, and are consumed with Nergal's rot. The most powerful plague bearers will serve as plague drones, the heavy cavalry of Nergal's armies. Nerglings, demonic servants of Nergal. They look like miniature representations of Nergal, with friendly, mischievous faces. They are gregarious, agile, and constantly active. They attack an enemy in vast swarms, overwhelming them by their numbers. Nerglings are often found following the shadow of champions of Nergal, or gathering in hordes around Great Unclean Ones. When attacking, they use their claws, which are infected by plagues and diseases, to drag down larger enemies where they can use their venomous bites. The Garden of Nergal is Nergal's realm within the warp. This unwholesome realm is home to every pox and affliction imaginable and is alive with the stench of rot. This garden is not a barren wasteland, but rather a macabre paradise of death and pestilence. A thick sheet of buzzing swarms of black, fury flies litter the sky, and twisted, rotten boughs entangled with grasping vines cover the moldering ground beneath an insect-ravaged canopy of leaves. Defiled fungi, both plain and extraordinary, break through the leaf-strewn mulch of the forest floor, puffing out vile clouds of spores. Muddy rivers slither across the bloated landscape. Nergal's mansion of rotted timbers and broken walls resides at the heart of the garden, decrepit and ancient, yet eternally strong at its foundations. It is within these tumbling walls that Nergal toils at his cauldron, a receptacle vast enough to contain all the oceans of the worlds of the galaxy. Nergal keeps his companion Isha trapped in a cage in the Garden of Nergal, in the corner of a room where he keeps the cauldron in which he creates all his plagues. Being a goddess of healing, Isha can cure herself of any of Nergal's diseases. Nergal takes advantage of this by force-feeding her his latest creation and sees how long it takes the goddess to overcome its effects. If he is pleased, he releases it upon some unsuspecting world. If not, he starts over, working at his cauldron until he has something new to give to his companion. Whilst he is busy working, though, Isha takes advantage of his distraction to instruct mortals on how to rid themselves of Nergal's poxes. When Nergal's power waxes, the garden blooms, encroaching on the lands of the other Chaos Gods. Nergal's enemies would fight back, and the Plague Bearers would take up arms to defend it. Although the garden will recede again, it would still have fed deeply on the essence of those who have fallen in such wars, and will lie in gestate peace until it is ready to bloom again.